What's going on, everybody? My name is Chris, and welcome to the second video in my new class guide series for Insurgency Sandstorm. Today we're going to be talking about the Breacher. In case you didn't know, in this series we're going over how to play all the different classes in the game, and after we go over some tips and tricks, general guide, I'll also give you guys my loadout recommendation at the end of the video. Before we get started today, I just want to let you guys know that I did open up my Discord a couple days ago to the public, so if you want to join, hang out, make some new friends, play some games together, link is in the description below. I'll see you there. So today we're talking about the Breacher class, and the Breacher just so happens to be my favorite class in Sandstorm. With how intense the gunfights can get in this game, the Breacher is just, in my opinion, probably one of the most fun classes to play as. The reason for that is because this class specifically specializes in CQB. The only way you're going to have success playing as the Breacher is if you're actually utilizing your strengths and getting in close. And something about being right in your enemy's face is both equally terrifying and satisfying at the same time. So if you want to win your gunfights as a Breacher, you really got to get in the enemy's face, or else everyone is going to outgun you at range. The weapons the Breacher has available to them are SMGs and shotguns. And you know, while you still can kill people from a pretty good distance with SMGs and the shotguns too, the shotguns have really long range in this game, it's still not really the recommended way to play the class just because of the nature of the weapons you actually have on you. Everybody else has rifles. You will lose to a rifle every time if you're far away. So get in close and really exploit the strengths of your class. The next thing I want to go over are flashbangs. Flashbangs are literally your best friends as a Breacher, and you should always have them on you. They're super powerful and can really turn the fight in your favor, especially before you enter a dangerous room or dangerous area. So before you even attempt to enter a dangerous room or area, throw a flashbang in there and give yourself the advantage. Just keep in mind that using a flashbang is seen as like an aggressive move, and if you're gonna throw a flashbang, you need to commit to the actual violence of action of either entering the room or entering the building or repositioning. Because if you just throw it and you don't do anything about it after, you just wasted utility for no reason. So as a Breacher, use flashbangs, don't leave home without them. So kind of going back to my first point when I said the Breacher specializes in CQB and you need to be up close to be strong against anybody. The first part of that is you need to get there first. It's going to be really hard for you to do well if you're getting gunned down well before you're even on the objective. So it's really important to consider the routes you're actually taking towards your objectives. You're gonna lose most long-range gunfights, so as a Breacher, before you even get to your objective, you really want to consider taking routes that are a lot less traveled by your enemy. Consider doing long flanks around the edges of the map, or taking paths within buildings that aren't as popular and most people wouldn't expect you to go through. Like, you really need to kind of snake your way through the map to get to an advantageous spot to where you can actually cut people off and fight them at your level. An easier way to put it is you just gotta be sneaky. And speaking of being sneaky, that's actually what the Breacher specializes in, apart from, you know, fighting up close. As a Breacher, you want to be in and around the objectives, capturing, defending, and flanking enemies trying to enter the area. You don't always have to necessarily be on the objective point to help. Consider if most of your team is already on the objective, you don't need like a seventh body on the objective. What you should do instead is cut off and prevent the enemies from even getting to the point in the first place. For me personally, if I'm doing this, I love roaming around the edges of the objective and just killing anybody that's trying to enter. Sure, I'm not actively helping capture the point by being physically on the objective, but I am getting a lot of kills and preventing the enemy from even getting in and contesting the objective. So therefore, I am still playing the objective, it's just I'm not physically on it. However, if you don't have a lot of teammates on the point or no teammates on the point at all, then yeah, don't do this. You should absolutely be inside the objective. To add on to that last point, you want to always keep moving and not stay in one area for too long. Now, don't get this confused. I'm not telling you to run and gun around carelessly. I'm telling you to reposition yourself every once in a while so that, you know, once you kill a few enemies, they don't know where you are once they come and try to get the revenge on you. The longer you stay in an area, especially if you're getting a lot of kills, the hotter that position is going to get, and the more likely everyone is going to come down to where you are and just murk you. So After a few kills, reposition, find another spot. You can hold the same area just from a different angle. Like even just moving like down a hallway to a different angle will help immensely in your survivability. Just stay unpredictable and you'll survive for a lot longer and be a lot more useful for your team. One tool that helps with this a lot is suppressors. Suppressors in this game work like they do in real life. It's not like Hollywood where all of a sudden your gunshots are quiet. They're not. The shots themselves can still be relatively loud, but it really helps in masking where the shot location is actually coming from. So for example, if you shoot at somebody and they hear the crack of the bullet flying by, but the actual gunshot signature is quieter than usual, they'll have a lot harder time figuring out where that shot actually came from. And if you're in close quarters, you have a very small window of time to try to figure out where that shot came from before you're dead. So suppressors don't make you inaudible or invisible, but it does help with your survivability because it makes it that much harder for your enemies to figure out where they're even getting shot from. Also, it completely eliminates your muzzle flash, so that's a bonus. The next thing I want to talk about is doors. A lot of people like to kick down and barge through doors. Yeah, don't do that shit. I mean, like if you want to get shot in the face instantly, then yeah, go for it. But if you're trying to survive and win, don't do it. Just don't. The reason being is because it's super loud. Your guy like kicks the doors in, screams at the top of his lungs. Also, his gun is down and you can't fire your weapon for like a whole second after the actual animation happens. So yeah, you're basically announcing your position like, hey, here I am, come kill me, because I'm stupid. Instead, if you don't want that to happen to you, the best way to open a door is to literally just open the door. It's that simple. The door opens instantly, it's quieter, and you also don't get locked to an animation, so if someone does happen to be in that room, you can just shoot him immediately. If you want to be even sneakier, you can just open the door slightly. The way you do this is by aiming down your sights at the door and then opening it. Your guy will open the door just a crack, and then you can literally just walk past it quietly. Also, this gives you a great opportunity to throw a flashbang through the crack of the door without actually exposing yourself. And if there are people on the other side of the door and they don't notice that the door opens like ever so slightly, they'll have no idea that they're about to get their shit rocked. Another fun fact about doors is you can actually open them from a pretty considerable distance. So if you have a closed door that absolutely needs to be open, but you don't want to walk up to it because it might be dangerous, there might be someone right on the other side, or people are shooting through it, whatever the case is, if you have a shotgun on you, you can actually open it from far away. The way you do this is really simple. Just aim where the hinges would be and break them, and the door will fall over. That's it. As a quick tip, in case you don't know how doors work, if you've never seen one in real life before, the hinges are always at the top and bottom of the frame, opposite of the door handle. So yeah, shoot the hinges. All right, guys, that's all I have for the Breacher guide itself. Let's go talk about my loadout recommendations. So for primary weapons, pretty much any of the SMGs and shotguns work really well, just depending on your playstyle, what you're comfortable with. If you couldn't already tell from all the clips I've shown you in this video, my personal favorite weapon is the MP7. However, if I'm on the Insurgent side, I love using the MP5 or the AS-Val. For attachments, I keep it pretty simple. I usually bring any 1X optic, usually either the holographic or red dot sight variants. You're going to be fighting really up close most of the time, so you don't really need anything more than that. Sometimes I will take the optics off if I need the point for something else. And just rock iron sights, but most of the time I do have some sort of red dot or holographic on there. I guess the only exception would be shotguns. With shotguns, I always rock iron sights. It feels better for me personally. I don't really like having sights on the shotguns, but that's just a personal thing. Next up, I would highly recommend a suppressor like we talked about earlier. You don't need it, but it does help a lot. I use suppressors on all my SMGs pretty much. If I'm using a shotgun, I never run a suppressor, only because the suppressor adds like a huge amount of length to the actual weapon, and it makes it just easier for people to see you just because of how long your fucking weapon is. Next up is grips. For the Breacher, I always bring the loading grip, just because it'll help me reload a lot faster in those situations where I'm fighting close quarters and there are a lot of targets. You don't need the aiming grip. SMGs and shotguns you can bring up to your face really quickly, and recoil grip pretty useless. Shotguns just because they're pump actions, and also because the SMGs you can, the recoil is really easy on the SMGs, like they're non-existent. For the side rail attachment, you can add a laser pointer to your weapon. I personally don't, just because I pretty much only play PvP in Sandstorm, and laser pointers give you away way more than they're actually helpful. Hip firing is not that hard, especially when you're up close, as you would be in a breacher class. So personally, I would skip it every single time. That's up to you. Just know that the laser pointer will probably give you away more than it'll actually help you. Next up is the secondary weapon. I always bring a pistol because you never know when you're gonna need to whip one out in an emergency, especially because you're fighting so many people so up close and dumping rounds everywhere. So a lot of times as a breacher, I do whip out that pistol. My personal favorites are the PF940 or the Glock on the security side, and the Browning HP on the insurgent side. You don't need anything fancy on the pistol because by the time you pull out your pistol, that usually means you're in a pretty bad emergency situation. So you don't need red dots, you don't need suppressors or anything. The only thing I bring on my pistols are the quick draw holsters so that I can pull it out a lot faster. Next up, I always bring the light carrier for the extra ammunition and also for the option of having 2 grenades on me. I don't ever bring the heavy carrier because the whole point of being a breacher is being fast, and heavy carrier just doesn't do that. Now that I have the option for 2 grenades, I always bring 2 flashbangs for my breachers. That is completely up to you though. You can bring a flashbang and a frag or smoke or even like an IED on the insurgent side or like a C4. But for me personally, I use flashbangs a lot, so I always want 2 on me. Next up is armor. I don't wear any as a breacher because, like I mentioned earlier, you want to be quick, you want to be able to reposition very quickly, get to your spots quicker than your enemies do, so the extra speed boost by not wearing armor helps. Also, like I mentioned before, armor is not super useful in this game, so you'll be fine. Last but not least, gas mask. This is pretty dependent on what the situation is, what the map is, how the match is going. Like last night, for example, I was playing a match where there wasn't really any smoke anywhere, so I didn't bring one just so I had the extra point to use on something else. But if there is a lot of smoke everywhere, if the enemies are dropping like chemical mortars or smokes, then yeah, definitely bring one, especially if you're sneaking around because you don't want to give yourself away by coughing a bunch. And that's it, guys. That brings us to the end of my breacher guide. I hope you guys found this useful. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like and subscribe button. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon so you get notifications whenever I upload. Also, like I mentioned earlier, I did open up my Discord to the public a few days ago, so if you want to go hang out, make some new friends, play some games, I'm probably going to do a Sandstorm community event sometime in the future, and we'll all play together. So if you want to be part of that, go down to the link below, and I'll see you there. All right, guys, hope you have a good rest of your day. I'll catch you later. Bye.